there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this very short Ascension update in terms of what's happening currently with our collective expansion of the soul and some of the personal updates for me in my work of personal services. So for those of you who have been tuning in or have noticed the video on my galactic signature readings, they finally became available, so they kind of had their personal liftoff. But I'm still kind of learning to balance the way of how many readings I can actually do. So I didn't know they were going to be so popular. I mean, I had a lot of people asking me about these readings. But as you know, I do a lot of things, and I love to do a lot of things. And these readings are more on the side of what I'm already doing and what I'm really consciously devoted to more in terms of self-mastery and guiding us as a collective and a group level. So I can only do as much of these readings per month, for example, at a specific time, because then I get too overwhelmed and working too hard, which is not really my desire and my intent, because I need to keep my vibration at its highest to stay in spirit connection. So today I've been really pondering on how to move forward with these readings and how to step forward next. And I really feel I will set a certain amount of these readings that I can do per month. So for this month, which is already ending, the quotum has already been filled, so there are no more readings available this month. So each month I would say I would do 7 of these readings. So when the quotum would get filled, then they will no longer be available that month. You know, kind of like when you have personal sessions and you schedule, you also have, in a way, you can have certain limitations. It's only as much as you can do as just one person. And I do so many other things, so I like to keep it that way, because with everything, you know, work that is personal guidance, personal service, it means it requires a lot of energy and devotion, because you have to look at the person's energy signature and you have to tune into them, and there goes hours and hours sometimes. And a lot of people charge a lot for that kind of personal work, but I still kind of manage to keep that at its minimum for as much as I offer. So it's how it is, you know. So when the quotum would be filled, it would be on the webpage. So if you're interested in those readings, then you would see that in the beginning of the month it would be available, and then as the places get filled, they get filled. It's almost like having a workshop, and you know, when the spaces get filled, they get actually filled. But the thing is that this is personal services, so you can't do them as a group, so they require more energy and your dedicated effort than apart. So yeah, I'm a diverse being and I do many different things. So in terms of following what's happening with our ascension is that we really are becoming so much multiversal, and not just in how much is being activated within us, but how we're tuning into the great levels of what we wish to create. But I want to bring something to our attention, which is the celestial alignments at this time, which was actually, Spirit was reminding me of this when I was at the seaside taking a very short holiday back in June. And I was constantly seeing the 2 bright stars, you know, on our horizon, and when the evening began. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, you know, isn't this what I thought it was? And it was really Jupiter and Venus, you know, the so-called lovers, because usually Jupiter represents that male expansion, that soul expansion, and Jupiter, in terms of Venus, it's almost like husband and wife in a way. So they're becoming conjunct in a way. They're becoming really beautifully aligned in the horizon. And this was very visible. And usually I start to notice certain constellations when there are certain influences that we're receiving from their alignments. So I remember back last year, I kept seeing Orion, you know, and I think this was in winter time. And I didn't even, you know, notice it before, although it's one of the most brightest and most obviously recognized constellations in our sky. But this year, this also happened with Venus and Jupiter. And, you know, the thing is that, as you know, Jupiter was retrograde, and now Venus will go retrograde. So it's almost like they're dancing this dance of how to really move deeper into love, because Saturn is also retrograde, which is commitment, which is that greater commitment to something personal, to something that, in a way, Jupiter and Venus bring us values. So it's still time of our higher values to be refined. It's almost like if before we valued, let's say, money or jobs or possessions, these values are now coming more into terms of our true soul values. Like I already shared about living a simple life, having a simple life, being of service, being in a companionship that is in alignment with how you live your life. And all these things I feel are becoming really important right now with this simple moving energy that's kind of like taking us out of that chaos. We began last year and after 2012, of course, with these square alignments, and now there was a lot of triangular alignments, which are trines that are harmonious aspects. So there was lots of harmonious energies at our disposal, and you can read my latest Ascension update on my webpage, and it's called The Twin Gateway and the Solstice, and Solstice is just happening this weekend. And this new one in Gemini that we had, Spirit showed me, was the most powerful manifesting new moon of this year, and in general, this energy of complete cleansing over. So what Spirit shows me is that every once in a while we have a cleanse that deals with every aspect of our life. You know, we all have these cycles when we purify, you know, we enter more into something of the new, you know, these tiny cycles. But what we've entered now, it's almost like, for example, our 12-folded nature, which is comprised of 12 chapters. And then when you finish the last one, they come into synthesized unity and a new one begins. So this is how it feels with this Gemini new moon. And it's something also that deals with something we've been experiencing since, I think, 2013 on, you know, something like that. And it's this energy that now this is coming to fruition. Now this is really starting to be more noticed, more seen. And we're actually getting a glimpse very often how it feels like to have instant manifestation. Instant manifestation is not the same, of course, as instant gratification, because what it actually means is you manifest something instantly when it's really aligned with your soul. And your soul always strives for greater good, for things that are of value. And just this week I've shared on my Facebook page that to really have abundance is to be abundance, to live in a state when you're the vortex of all creativity. And a lot of times we still generate things that are maybe money, maybe certain possessions, and they're not really aligned with spirit, because the only abundance that's really spirit-based is that which will kind of serve as another entry point into something else we'll be creating. So it's not true abundance and not true wealth if it's not spirit wealth. And spirit wealth is always that which is within. A lot of times people may be oriented towards goals, you know, and they say, you know, money, you know, you're not charging enough, or you're not earning enough, or all these things. And it doesn't really matter. It matters how much we enjoy what we're doing. So let's say you can have thousands and thousands of euros or dollars or whatever, and in a way you're still not feeling the freedom because you're not doing totally what you came here to do, or you're not doing totally what you love, or you're still working for somebody else. And you know, now people tend to move away from that because everybody wants to be their own boss, which means their own source, their own vortex. It doesn't mean now what we do stops. It's just that the level of how we attain things changes, because true wealth is that which is attained, and it comes as a progressed state. It's not, for example, money that comes out of the sky, and if you don't know how to master working with it, it means that very often you'll lose it, because there will be repercussions, you know, to our reckless sense of how we actually work with that money, or whatever that might be. So with our higher ascending selves, it means that we don't just manifest or generate without a purpose. Every single thing in our life, if we don't have a purpose, it means, okay, maybe it's not crystallized yet, or maybe it's just not on a higher refined level. I'm going to wait for that higher vision to come. And we've been working a lot recently with this higher vision template to have greater seership at our disposal. And so what it really is becoming obvious to us is that true wealth is the wealth of spirit. And spirit is pure freedom. It's all life in creation. We're free to do what we desire, what we create, how will we serve. It's not just serving others the way we think they would want to, but that it also brings us joy and upliftment. So it needs to be a teaching tool for us as well. When our life is a teaching tool, not just for ourselves, but for others. For example, my own example that I gave you in the beginning is something like this. You begin with something new and people say, oh, I want it, I want it, I want it. And although you want to help and assist and serve, you also know that you have certain boundaries in sense of the physical body. It's only as much as you can do if you're just one person. And you got to have those boundaries as to how much you will be willing to create for yourself and for others, so that you're actually doing it out of overflowing, not from that need, you know, that space which is really not coming from your higher refined levels. So this is basically what's happening. So Jupiter, Venus both in a way represent this wealth. Jupiter is almost like a wealth of your spiritual expansion, and Venus is a wealth of our values, sometimes the sensual approach to life, which is sometimes the energy that comes anchored on this planet through the Taurus energy, which is that a richness of enjoying life. So, you know, our spiritual expansion through this conjoined effort, what it means is that it needs to be also reciprocated in our physical life, how we live. I mean, we can have all the money, but if we're just working towards it, we're just working for it, we never actually have the freedom to enjoy. Let's say to go travel somewhere, to experience something new, you know, to have some free time just for ourselves, when we forget about the world at all, you know, for a while. And we all came here to experience both, you know, to share our gifts, but also be free, and how they're at our disposal, how we co-create with them, and how we share with others. So I feel this is almost like this balance we're still seeking in our ascension. You know, you can have the tools, okay, we had the tools how to create, we're the magician now, but still there's this sense of you can create anything, but then how much you'll create it so it doesn't become either excess of energy, too much of energy. That can overburden us and deplete us as well. Too much of good is not always good, you know. It's true. You can probably have experiences of this in your own life. So this balance is always the way of self-mastery, this key integration that takes place through constant rebalancing. This is like a never-ending job that we all have. It's not something that, okay, now it's done, you know, I'm balanced. Yes, on this level, but then a new level of your expansion comes and you need to integrate that one as well. And it's always climbing up these steps. So our celestial alignments in a way are just our reflections. They're reflections of our soul expansions and how we travel in our individuality, but in a way also through the vastness of our cosmic self. So I hope this makes sense, that you got some epiphanies through this, and yeah, don't overwork yourself, how I tend to do sometimes. And it's an honor to share myself with you in this way, and I would like to keep it much collectively as always as well. So that's why I was guided to do this way with the readings, with the limited amount of how much I can do them per month, or, you know, just saying like this. Anyway, I'm wishing you as always so much love, wisdom, and power. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon, whenever. Bye-bye.